Hey everyone, here's our 2001 Jeep that we're going to start our Project XJ on. We got this a few months back. It was pretty clean. It had a blowed head gasket on it. We brought it home, put a new head on it, new water pump, and it was just a nice clean XJ for 2001. No rust where they normally rust. So we decided to make this a little project vehicle. So we ordered some parts. Let's take a look. Okay, let's get this party started. So here's our parts that came in. We're going with a 4.5 inch rough country for the lift. We went with 32 1150s. They say that 32 1150s is as big as we can go without cutting the fenders. These are Pro Comp 1069 polished rims. The tires are BF Goodrich mud terrain TAs. We're going old school. We got a car light bar here and a set of the old KC daylighters that we're going to be putting on. We got a Smitty Built front bumper, a Smitty Built bull bar to go around it, and we went with the 12,000 pound synthetic rope winch that we'll be mounting. We're going to install the heavy duty ball joints because of the bigger tires and stuff. Of course, new lug nuts and anything else that needs replaced. So it should be a pretty interesting build. All right. Okay, before we get started, we're going to take some measurements here, so we've got a reference point that we started. Here at the back, 29.5 inches. At the rocker panel, we've got about 16 inches. And about 30.5 here at the front. So we'll see what it looks like after we're done. See how much clearance we're going to need here for these 32 1150s. Yeah, that's not going to work. All right, we're taking the shocks out here. That was about the first step. And it's just that easy. Sway bar links.
Sway bar links.
Okay. Okay, the lower control arm's coming off. Springs are out. All right, lower control arm coming out. The track bar, you got to move over 3/4 of an inch and drill another hole for the track bar to hook up. First, lower control arms. Guys, do yourself a favor on these. These are real bad to hang up. See your slides here? Make sure, I had to work on these quite a bit to get them. Make sure they're sliding. If you don't, it's going to hang up. And then you've got, new rotors, new brakes, and it's just going to cause you a lot of problems. So here we are, ready to put the front tire on and see if we got clearance. All right, we'll try it on. All right, guys, here it is with the tires on it. 32 1150s. Well, Marty being Marty, they said it would fit with 8-inch rims. I don't like the looks of 8-inch rims. I wanted 10. So I actually did have to clip the fender right here. Just took a little bit off the edge of it there. And the same thing on the back corner back here. Just to give it clearance. But I just like the looks of the 10-inch rim a little bit better. I like the tires set out. It gives it a real mean look from the front end. Oh yeah. All right, here we are. We got the shocks out. And we dropped the rear end down. Guys, these bolts right here are a real pain in the butt. So do yourself a favor. Put a little MAP gas on them. Heat them things up. Same thing back there at the back. Get them good and hot. All right, go ahead and pull that out. And there we go. Ready for the new springs. All right, here's my first little snag that I ran into. On the new springs, the bolt, or the nut rather, is too big. It won't let this set down, so it's no big deal. All you gotta do is drill it out to 3/4. And now it sits down on there just right. So your U-bolts will go on. You want to make sure that that's setting down on your springs and not holding up on the bolt pin. Drilled that out to 3/4 of an inch. All right, guys, here it is. New springs on the back, no surprises here. New brakes, rotors. The only surprise we had was these top plates. Right here, you can see the center bolt was not big enough. I had to re-drill that. And here's your relocation kit that comes with the kit for your brake line. You got to relocate that so your brake line's long enough. But other than that, like I say, pretty easy back here. Just put new springs on. So here we are, ready to put the back tires back on. All right, guys, here we are getting to the end of our lift part of the build. And I'm trying to show you the good parts and the bad parts. Sometimes this happens. Right here, we're supposed to double nut. There's 2 studs here that you let down. And then you put a jack under this and let your transfer case down. And it should be that easy. Unfortunately, sometimes this is what happens. The nut twisted off. We welded to it. It twisted off. Time after time, we heated it. We done everything that we knew to do to it. Broke all our drill bits, broke easy outs. So what we done here was ground this down flat, set on the end of the bolt, and then we just took a 3/8 bolt and welded it right around the top of the old stud and just left it in there. Welded around it, then put it in there and put a nut on there. So, but that's some of the things that they don't tell you. All right, here we are. Lift is on. The only surprise that I had is the back wheels. I'm running those Pro Comp aluminum rims are thicker. The wheel studs weren't long enough, so I had to get longer wheel studs, which, just for your information, the front ones are long enough, so if you run into this, all you have to do is order the front wheel studs and put them in the back. The knurl's 9 thousandths bigger, but they go right in there, no problem. Put the hitch on, a Reese hitch. It was supposed to be a direct fit and it was a universal. Not real fond of that. Probably going to take that back off and get one. Not a big fan of how that hangs down in the back. So next step, everything's on. We're getting ready to start on the front bumper here. So we're getting ready to open it up and see what we got. It's a Smitty Built, and let's see how it goes. All right, I think we got it ready to come off. We've got in the bumper bracket 3 bolts on each side. These 2 smaller ones. What are these, Ron?
They're going up in the flares.
8mm.
Yeah.
Go up into the plastic flares. Don't forget to unplug your fog lights if you have fog lights. And it should be able to pull right off there now. And there we go. All right, we'll get this new one fitted up, ready to go on. All right, there it is. Didn't get very many shots putting that on, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Went ahead and stuck the winch in there. Don't have anything hooked up yet. You see the wires hanging down. The bumper was pretty easy to go on. You got to take these bolts here, actually go through into the steering box. So you just make sure that you know your steering box don't fall. I had a buddy here helping me, so I just held it up while we done it. I think the front bumper installation's pretty much done. I'm going to have to trim the inner fenders out there and wire it up. But kind of like the look of it. One more little hiccup on the bumper install. You have a vacuum pod right here that I believe is for the air conditioning, to work the vents on the air conditioning. So no problem, we'll just have to cut. It's mounted behind the original bumper, so we'll just have to cut that off and relocate that somewhere on the new bumper. All right, we're getting ready to mount our light bar now. The first thing you want to do is determine where you want it, which I've already marked it out here. I've determined I want to mount this about 8 inches back from this gutter rail. So I've made my marks where I want this to go. Now these gutter mounts, they're pretty easy. I mean, how they work is they just go on, they set in the gutter. Then you have the bottom piece, which slides up and just sandwiches that in there to hold that on. Now the problem that I'm having here is the gutter. If you can see this here, the gutter kind of rolls in at the top. Kind of rolls in there, and it's not wanting to let this set in there like I would like it to. So I think what I'm going to do is take my cutoff wheel, make a couple cuts here and here, so that will sit down in there a little bit more secure than that. Okay, you can see how this looks here now after I've made my cuts and bent that flange up. So now they should sit down in there just fine. Guys, we're getting ready to mount this light bar. What we want to do is we put these on each side. You can see I've got the mounts on each side, and we want to measure between them. And between them, I've got about 44 inches. So then what we want to do is add 4 inches to that measurement. We want to add 4 inches to it because it goes in those receivers 2 inches. So 44, so we want 48 inches is what we want. So our bar is 56 inches. We want 48 inches. You don't want to cut all of it off one end, so you want to take half that. So what we want to do is cut four inches off each end. So you measure in 4 inches. And best to use a square and get a good square cut. All right, so here we are. We got the bar cut, got the ends mounted on it, and we done a test fit to make sure that we were right, and it fits down in there just perfect. So what we're going to do now is get our lights out, put our lights on there, and put her up there. All right, we got some lights mounted on it now. See where we got all our wires tucked up under there. And we're getting ready to set it on there. Okay, here you can see where I relocated that pod. Got it out of the way. Got all the winch lines run, tied up. Here's the inner fender. We trimmed that much off the fender. It's kind of got a line that you can go to here when you trim it. So it trims about that much off of it. So, and if you remember earlier in the video, I was showing you on the 32-inch tires, the 1150s, how you had to trim this. See, with this bumper, that's not an issue, but I done that for the benefit of anybody possibly that's not running this bumper. Okay, here it is, sitting on all fours. We took measurements when we started. Remember, this is a 4.5-inch rough country lift, 32 1150s. We measured back here. I think our measurement was 29.5. And now we are about 38.5. At the rocker panel here, I believe we were 16 inches. Now we're 2 foot, just about exactly 2 foot. I believe we were 30.5 here. And now we're about 37.5. So didn't do bad for a 4.5-inch lift. Pretty happy with the stance. Okay, so told you guys I wasn't too impressed. I had that Reese hitch on there and it hung down. So I swapped this out. I just wasn't happy with the other one. This is a Kurt. It's a direct fit and it tucks up there much better than the other one. Okay, I know I'm not going to be too popular for this, but I wired my KCs up and I didn't know how to run the wiring on it. So what I done was, I know a lot of guys don't like this. I came up here on the roof, drilled a hole, put a rubber grommet in there. What I'll do is I'll put some silicone around that. And then I put all my hookups out here. So if I get a light that goes bad, I can simply unplug it and replace it. Or if I get rid of the Jeep, I can, you know, just unplug the light bar and take it off. Then on the inside, I run everything up the A-pillar here. So when the headliner goes back in, which the reason I done this is my headliner needed some attention anyway, so. And the switches, there you can see better what I got going over there. Here's my switches I got hanging here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build me a little console for there. So I cut out the front of the headliner here, and I'll build a little console and mount them. Now the important thing here, this headliner was a mess, guys, and it was, you just got to make sure that you scrape it and you got to get all this old stuff off. It makes a mess, but then when you put the new fabric on, it's a big job, but it's worth it in the end. All right, guys, got the headliner done. Went down to Joann Fabrics and got some fleece. I did regular headliner material. It wasn't tripping my trigger, so. And then I got 3M Super 77 to glue the headliner. And you seen yesterday we got all that scraped off, and actually this turned out pretty good. I'm kind of happy with it. The fleece does a real good job. It stretches and conforms to everything, even like in the back here around the speaker wells. It done real good. And I think for the Cherokee, it'll something different. Yep. I've been with it in video. All right, we're getting ready to build that little overhead console that we're to mount our switches. So what we got here is a piece of 22 gauge steel. What you want to do is start out, get you some cardboard and make you a little pattern. So you can see what I've done here. I made a little pattern. This is going to bend up like this, bend in. This will bend over, just like this. The switches will mount here. These little tabs will turn up here. So like I say, just get yourself some cardboard, make a template. Then you just want to lay your template down on your steel. Trace around it. Just like that. This little cutout here is where the wires will come in. And then these are kind of handy. It goes on your DeWalt drill, your little nibblers. And you simply cut that out and then start bending. I went ahead and bent mine up. So here's what you wind up with when you bend it all up. Put the rivets in there. I painted it last night so I could put it in there today. I put a little grommet. Got a little grommet to put right here, cut in half, where the wires are going to go through, so it don't. And then that'll mount right up on the roof. We'll mount our 3 switches in there. We'll have a nice little overhead console. All right, you can see where I put bent me a couple little brackets, just self-tapper screws and put it up there. Got my switches mounted in. So now it's just a matter of sticking it up there and putting the screws in. All right, guys, here's what it looks like installed. This third circuit I drug in case I want to put another set of lights on. But nothing fancy. But that's it. It gets the switches up and out of the way. All right, got the headliner back in the XJ. This is something different. Some of you will probably like it. Some of you will hate it. But I think it came out pretty cool. It's It's different. All right, guys, here we are at the end of our little XJ build. And I'm going to call this, you see my little vinyl I put on here, I'm going to call this Chief Cherokee. Chief Cherokee. Everything went fairly good on it. The rough country lift, 4.5-inch lift. Like I say, the only issues I had was the center bolts on the leaf springs back here. I had to re-drill the plates on the top. The center bolts was, the head was a little bit bigger. The wheel studs on the Pro Comp wheels, the wheels are thicker, so I had to put longer wheel studs in the back. Earlier in the video, when I done the brakes, you see I made a reference about working on the slides and make sure they're freed up. Well, disregard that. Just buy new calipers. The first time I drove this thing around the block, a caliper froze up. I wound up putting new ones on anyways. The Smitty Built stuff was great. Bumper went right on, very pleased with that. The winch is the XR3, the Gen 3, 12,000 pound. That's good. Redone the headliner that a lot of you don't like. Built the little switch box for it, for the KC daylighters. You see it up there. This is what happens when an old school guy gets an XJ. So before all you Jeep guys, real Jeep guys, get your panties in a pucker, I'm not a real Jeep guy. I'm a drag racer. I run the Hemi Express wheel stander. I'm used to going down the quarter mile on the back wheels 120 miles an hour. So I realize that this Jeep is a very mild build. So don't think that I'm on here trying to, you know, portray myself as a Jeep builder. This is my personal vehicle. I just like the XJs. I had one that I done before and wound up, my grandson wound up with it, and I always said if I ever found a clean one, I wanted to do another one. So this is a, I don't know what you guys would call it, a mall crawler or whatever. This is something that might see off-road once or twice a year, but other than that, it's just my daily driver. So, but this is how it turned out. So it's a long ways from when we brought it home with the blown head gasket. It looked like a real grocery getter to what it is now, but I like it. I hope you guys enjoy it. So, all right, thanks for watching.